Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. President Biden is touting his newly revamped $1.75 trillion social spending plan. Speaking at the White House earlier, he called the legislation transformative, but also a compromise, saying no one got everything they wanted, including himself. The remarks came after he met with House Democrats on Capitol Hill. Based on the new White House proposal, universal pre-K funding for child care and investments for fighting climate change remain in the plan as of now. But other promises, like 12 weeks of paid family leave, are expected to be cut. CBS News' Debra Alfarone reports from Washington.
President Biden announced there is a deal on his Build Back Better agenda that he believes every Democrat in the Senate will support.
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is. That's consensus.
But not every Senate Democrat shares his confidence.
There is a great deal of uncertainty within the caucus as to what's contained in the deal.
The outline of the $1.75 trillion plan includes universal pre-K for all 3- and 4-year-olds. It extends the child tax credit for another 6 years, and it reduces health care premiums brought through the Affordable Care Act. The bill does not include a national paid family leave proposal, nor does it include free community college or the tax on billionaires. The package also includes the largest federal investment ever to combat climate change, more than $500 billion. It's something the president can tout at a climate conference in Scotland next week.
Enough to position us for a 50 to 52% emission reductions by the year 2030.
Progressives in the House say they will not vote on the president's trillion-dollar infrastructure bill until the spending plan is ready for a vote as well.
We want to see what's actually in the bill. We want to see the legislative text. And then we're, assuming that we're fine with that, we'll vote both bills through at the same time.
Republicans are opposed to the spending plan, saying it will increase inflation and hurt the economy.
Washington Democrats are behind closed doors again, assembling an even bigger reckless taxing and spending spree.
The White House says the bill is paid for with a tax hike on corporations and the rich. Debra Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
For more on this, I want to bring in Sean Sullivan and Nikole Killion. Sean is a CBS News political contributor and White House reporter for the Washington Post, and Nikole is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Welcome to both of you. Sean, let me start with you. How confident is the White House that this revamped social spending plan will pass? What has the reaction been?
Well, senior administration officials have outwardly been as confident as we've ever heard them. They're flatly saying that the president believes that this vote will get, this package, I should say, will get the vote of every Democratic senator, all 50 Democratic senators. That includes Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who have been the two key centrist holdouts on this. And they're also saying that the president believes that this will pass the House. There's also uncertainty about the balance of the House Democratic caucus. We've seen some liberal members of the House say, look, we want a plan that goes farther than a lot of what we've talked about. But we've heard the White House make its sort of most definitive claims yet about where these votes are going to come down. Now we'll find out if they're actually right about where these votes fall, because we're already seeing some signs on Capitol Hill today of some unhappiness about where things stand. But without question, this is the most confident and most direct appraisal of where things stand that we've heard from the president, and we've heard from his aides in terms of actually expressing confidence that this thing will pass. And so we'll see from here whether they're right or whether they're wrong.
And of course, Nikole, the bill was originally proposed at $3.5 trillion, so it has been significantly scaled back. Now that it has been cut down, break down for us what remains, and are there elements that could still be cut from the plan?
Well, at this point, one senator told me that they feel that the framework kind of is what it is and doesn't necessarily expect things to be added or taken away from that, most notably on an issue like paid leave, which might have to be dealt with separately at a later time. So that is one thing that is definitively out. What is in are things like the universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. You also have an extension of the child care tax credit for another year. We're also talking about funding for affordable housing, as well as roughly $500 billion plus in investments in terms of climate. You heard the president also talk about some provisions in there for elder care and support for people who have to care for aging parents. In terms of Medicare, there may be a slight expansion there. Senator Sanders was pushing for something more comprehensive, but in this framework agreement, it appears that they will now establish a hearing benefit for Medicare, where people could get hearing coverage in addition to their Medicare coverage. Senator Sanders had been pushing for hearing, dental, and a bit more there. So those are some of the elements that are in there. Additionally, there's more funding and investment for HBCUs, as well as a number of other elements in this package. So that's kind of broad outlines, broad strokes of this measure, which lawmakers are currently digesting here on the Hill.
And Sean, President Biden delayed his trip to Europe to deal with all of this at home first. How significant is this legislation for President Biden and for his legacy, really?
Well, I think you saw a president today who is really under a lot of pressure. You look at the overall political picture right now. His polling numbers are not good. They've been declining over the past few months. We're seeing Democrats in key races, including a big one coming up next week in the Virginia governor's race, in really, really tight contests, and hoping that Democrats can make a breakthrough in Washington. And you've seen the presidency, the Biden presidency, sort of stall in the eyes of many Democrats and many supporters. And so if he's able to push this through, if he's actually successful here, it seems like there may be two effects. One is in the immediate term. Democrats feel like this is the kind of thing that can restore some momentum, that could show Americans that, hey, look, we can govern, the Democratic Party can govern. But then in the long term, you look at the big picture, and this might well be the last big significant achievement legislatively, at least domestic legislation-wise, that the president may ultimately achieve, at least in the next couple of years. You look on the horizon, we've got 2022 coming up, the midterms. A lot of Democrats and Republicans are going to shift into campaign mode. So there's not a big expectation that a lot is going to get done next year. So this could sort of be their last bite at the apple, so to speak. And in the long term, this could end up being something that defines the president's legacy. This is a pretty dramatic expansion of the social safety net if this passes in its current form, even though it's a pared down version of what they originally envisioned. Long term, I think this is the kind of thing, if it does pass, and that is a big if, that historians could look back and say this is one of the defining features of the Biden presidency.
Right, and passed with a razor thin margins, right? Nikole, what is the likelihood that this bill will get all Democrats on board to pass? And it needs all Democrats on board, correct?
Well, to Sean's point, that remains a big if. I mean, look, I asked President Biden coming out of that meeting with House Democrats this morning if he was able to sell this plan to his fellow Democrats, and he said that he feels that he is in good shape. And you heard him in his remarks earlier today really elaborate about why he feels this package is important and why he needs the support from his fellow Democrats to be on board, not only with this larger social spending package, but also with this smaller bipartisan infrastructure bill, which are historic investments in his view if it does clear this Congress. But what we are hearing from some lawmakers are some reservations. Senator Sanders in particular said that he believes that there are gaps in this framework. The Progressive Caucus has been meeting, and some members are walking out saying that they don't necessarily support moving forward with infrastructure at this time. But we are hearing other progressives who are saying that they do intend to endorse this framework. And so that is something to watch. That is some movement, some shifting that we are seeing from progressives on this issue. But they still kind of want that legislative language in place and that guarantee of a vote in place, if possible, before they feel that they're ready to make that leap in supporting this smaller infrastructure bill.
Right. And Sean, of course, Democrats are trying to pass this larger social spending bill through reconciliation. Remind us how that works and what the limits are to a bill passed through reconciliation.
Yeah, so what the Democrats are trying to do is effectively pass this along party lines. They know that they are not going to get any Republicans on board for this sweeping plan that they have presented. And so they have used this tool known as reconciliation, which allows you to pass certain things through the Senate that are budgetary related with a simple majority rather than 60 votes. They knew they were never going to get 60 votes for this. So what they really need is 50. But to get 50, you need all 50 Democrats. And what's been the challenge over the past few months is those final two Democrats, Senators Manchin and Sinema, these key centrists who hold very, very different views in many ways from the rest of the Democratic caucus on spending, on taxes. One of the big reasons why we've seen this package change so much and become smaller than what it was a few months ago is to satisfy their demands and to be able to win their votes. And so if indeed we see a situation where the two of them vote for this, we expect that every other Democrat will vote for it. But one other person to watch is Senator Bernie Sanders. As Nikole mentioned, right now there's in the congressional progressive ranks some uncertainty about where everybody's going to come down. So a big question mark is, where does Senator Sanders come down? So you might see, some of the attention shift. A lot of it has been on these centrists. Now, what do liberal members of Congress think? But if they can get the 50 votes and if they can get a simple majority in the House, that's all they need to pass this right now. But, it's easier said than done. I think the president and his top aides are realizing, based on how long this is stretched out.
But Sean, isn't there a sense among progressive Democrats that this is sort of the last shot at getting some of this stuff done, that if this dies on the vine, they'll never be this close again?
There certainly is that sense. A lot of liberal members of Congress that I've talked to do feel that way. They do feel like, look, we're not going to walk away from this. It may not be the perfect thing that we designed or that we campaigned on, but it's a lot of money toward climate change. It's a lot of money toward universal pre-K. It's a lot of money that goes toward expanding healthcare. These are the kind of things that, progressive caucus members have talked about for years, and they've never had an opportunity to really do something like this. So I think the calculation from the president and the White House is, in the end, you're not going to see Democrats walk away from this and just say, look, we're just not going to support this thing. There's too much at stake here, and there's too much that they care about in this bill that I think ultimately is what is driving the president today to say, with confidence we haven't heard before, that this thing is going to pass. These votes are going to be there.
All right, that's the calculation. Let's see if it pans out. Sean Sullivan and Nikole Killion, thank you so much for joining us.